Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Retirement Cafe podcast, which is sponsored by My Financial Planner. Not knowing when you can afford to retire or what your pensions will provide can be worrying. My Financial Planner provides independent fixed fee retirement planning advice, bringing clarity to your financial future. At My Financial Planner, we take an expert look at your pension plans and we turn them into a retirement plan. We equip you with the knowledge to be able to retire successfully. Find out more about getting a plan to fund the retirement you really want at myfinancialplanner.co.uk. This week's episode is a little different. I'd like to share with you a conversation I had during lockdown with a friend of mine, Jeremy Nicholas. By profession, Jeremy is a writer and a broadcaster with nearly 3 decades of experience on TV and radio, mainly with the BBC. But Jeremy has funny bones, who has built a business as the man who puts serious laughs in serious talks. In essence, he helps people make all sorts of presentations entertaining and engaging. I'm sure that you can imagine how life in lockdown for someone whose business is about international public speaking and after dinner talks has been somewhat different. Jeremy shares his story of being grounded and how he became known as the Keynote Tickler. I hope you really enjoy my conversation with Jeremy as much as I did. I'm really pleased this afternoon to be joined by my good friend, Jeremy Nicholas, who is an international expert on communications in business. He's a keynote speaker on pitching for business, structuring your message for maximum impact, and adding humor to corporate presentations. And he has given me quite a lot of help over the years. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hi, and you do need a lot of help.
Yes, you're right. I always need some expert assistance. So you're in lockdown. I see that behind you, you've got, for those who are going to watch this on YouTube, I'll just describe for our listeners, you've got a nice parade of toilet rolls next to your Union Jack flag there.
Yes, so I've got the Union Jack flag, and then I've got the toilet rolls in a stack of 4, 3, 2, 1. But initially, I just had 4, 3, and 2. When I do this show called the After Dinner Show, where I have guests on, it's a live YouTube show with people like me, speakers that are in lockdown that haven't got an audience. So I've just gone on YouTube, and loads of people were disturbed by the fact that I hadn't got a 1 on top. But of course, you get a 9-pack of Andrex, you only get 9 in it. So that is a 4, a 3, and a 2. And so I had to go to the garage and open a second packet of Andrex for the next time I did a live YouTube show, because people were so troubled by the 1 on the top not being there.
Well, I can see you've done a bit of stockpiling, at least, it should see you through the weekend.
Well, actually, we didn't do any stockpiling. It's just that because we tend to buy in bulk anyway, at the start of the lockdown, my wife sent me to the garage to find out how many toilet rolls we had and did we need to buy some, because apparently they were going quickly. And I came back and said, we've got 108. Do you think that'll be enough? And we decided it was. So we haven't bought any.
Yeah, well, I talking of toilet rolls, I get mine from a company called Who Gives a Crap. And they're online and they come in bulk, and it's all about, because it's very eco-friendly and they're made of bamboo and blah, 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 and they don't cause any kind of, stuff going wrong in the world, which is why I buy them. And they do some donations to charity, etc. But we had a great big box of the darn things, because you don't buy, you don't go online and buy your toilet rolls without getting a big box at a time. So we were well set up. So I was quite pleased by that.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like you're on a roll.
Absolutely.
See, that's humour. That's how you do it.
So, Jeremy, obviously you're not retired, and I've got no idea why I'm really chatting to you about, for our audience at the Retirement Cafe and what you can bring to the party. But I do remember you telling me a little bit about your dad and his retirement, and maybe also why you maybe not planning, to retire too early.
Yeah, so my dad worked for the same company all his life, Boots the Chemist. He was a pharmacist, and he took early retirement at 58, just because they said, there was a really good deal, great pension scheme. He decided he was going to retire at 58, play bowls and travel the world and everything. And so he had a great time. I'm 57 now, and I'm thinking I'm going to be 58 in November. I don't even think about retiring.
No.
But then I think that's because I really enjoy my job. and my job is so varied. I get to travel so much. Back, of course, for those of you who can remember what travel is in the days where we were allowed out. And I get to speak all over the world to people about how to use humor in business, and so I really love it. I think most of my contemporaries are sort of saying, "Yeah, I've got another 3 years to go, Jeremy, and then I'm retiring." I think, why? Have they all been doing these jobs all this time where they didn't really enjoy it? Because
Wow.
for me, the whole point is you only live once. You might as well enjoy your job. And if I go on holiday for 2 weeks, I'm happy. If I go for 3 weeks, I'm a bit bored because I enjoy working more than holiday.
Great, great. So a bit about your history. I mean, you started working for the BBC. Presumably did you do a kind of journalist degree, or did you go to university?
Yes, I did. But I did mechanical engineering, which is not ideal. And then at university, I found mechanical engineering didn't really tap into my creative side. So I started doing student radio.
Wow.
It was called Radio Ram Air at Bradford University.
Okay.
And the guy who did the show before me was Martin Roberts, who's the presenter of Homes Under the Hammer.
There you go.
So, and he was an engineer as well. So I don't think anyone ever did any engineering from Bradford, but they just hated it so much they went on and did other very creative things. And then in my final year, we did industrial placements. I went to British Steel in Corby, and I really didn't like the end of every day having to wash my hands in Swarthega to get the grease off.
Right.
I'd been collapse testing North Sea oil pipelines and sending formula to the lab saying change the zinc or change the carbon content to make them less brittle and more now they're strong, but no, they're collapsing. And I just thought, no, I don't want to do that. So I then did a postgrad in broadcast journalism, and then joined the BBC after a short 9-month spell in commercial radio, which we don't talk about. I then joined the BBC and then moved on to telly and national radio and stuff like that. Wow. But it was always serious news and sport presenting, but I always used to put my own little bits of personality in, which often I would get into trouble for. But I think that's because if you're doing a serious news, I remember once going to do a report on terror alerts at an airport.
Right.
And I don't think I put any jokes in or anything, but they said that just by my tone of voice, people wouldn't necessarily believe it. They would think there must be a joke happening. But literally, I didn't say anything. It was literally just a raised eyebrow, perhaps.
Yeah. So it's been a varied career then. You do all types of things now, don't you? You do after dinner speaking. I mean, you did the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, if I think rightly got that right, last year.
Yeah, so I've done a couple. So yeah, people get confused between the Edinburgh Fringe and the Edinburgh Festival. There's 5 or 6 festivals: the TV festival, the book festival, the international festival, the arts festival, and the Fringe is actually the biggest of all of them. Oh. And so those watching on YouTube, that poster next to my South African vuvuzela, that's my poster from last year, which was What Are You Talking About?, which is how to come across humorously in business presentations. And then I did a show called After Dinner Stories the previous year from my disastrous broadcasting career, which was just all the things that went horribly wrong. And people like to hear about those. They like to hear about the dreadful mistakes.
Give me your best story from that.
The best story, well, the thing is that most of them are about 5 minutes, so they're going to go on for quite a bit. But there was a time when I was ambushed by a man who said he was Jesus and he had a machine gun. And he demanded that a statement be read out on air, that his fingerprints be compared with the Shroud of Turin. And it's quite a long and involved story, and it has quite a disappointing ending. A lot of my stories, because they're real, have disappointing endings. And it turned out it wasn't Jesus, it was just a bloke. But he was armed, and it was very scary.
Now, Jeremy, there's we're of a similar age, and most of our
I always thought you were a lot older.
Well, I'm actually a little younger, but I was being generous. And I'm more worried about my hair in lockdown than yours. But anyway, that's another aside.
Mine just, as long as we don't run out of polish, my haircut will be fine.
The baby boomers who are listening to this to this podcast may know of you from that famous video game FIFA. Tell me about that.
So, yes, anyone that's ever played the FIFA video game, which is the global best-selling football game, which the Americans incorrectly call soccer. And so I was the voice of the stadium announcer on all games from FIFA '06 up to FIFA 16, so 11 consecutive seasons. You would always have a football commentator saying, "Oh, he's done well there. He's come across. Oh, he scored." That kind of a voice, so it would be a John Motson type person. Clive Tilsley, I think, was on the game that I originally did. And then there'll be an expert. And then there's a third voice that came in for FIFA '06 when they expanded the memory on the Xbox 360. And that was me, the stadium announcer, who's the bloke in the background that after the goal's been scored says, "Goal for West Ham scored by Paolo Di Canio." And so I just had to say the names of all the players in the world in two different voices. One as if they'd scored a goal, and then one in a much lower voice as though they'd being announced at the start of the game or coming on as a substitute.
Wow.
So normal and excited, but for every player in the world. And let me tell you, when you do the Latvian leagues and then the Croatian leagues, it's a nightmare. I remember doing the Croatian leagues, and then instantly, the next one they handed me was the Israeli leagues. So you've got an IC in Israeli would be it's like Isle Berkovitz. But if Isle Berkovitz had been Croatian, it'd be Isle Berkovic. And you've got to try and remember that. And so I would ask for guidance, and they'll go, "To be honest, Jeremy, just do it how you want, because stadium announcers always get it wrong anyway." That's why I did a David Beckham voice for the producer, because the producer was actually a guy called Amos from Vancouver. But I panicked and decided I couldn't do a Canadian accent. So I made him David Beckham. I don't know why. Why would David Beckham produce a video game? He doesn't need to do that sort of thing.
So, what are you? I mean, you're a professional speaker.
Fairly professional.
Fairly professional. And what are you doing now in lockdown? I mean, what happens to a professional speaker in this environment?
Yeah, so we're in week 4 of lockdown now. So initially, week 1, I mainly panicked and bought lots of things that I thought we might need. I bought great big bags of rice online and pasta and everything other than toilet rolls. I just bought in great big quantities online, and then waited as they got the delivery notice saying they hadn't got any left. But now I do a show called The After Dinner Show, which is 8 o'clock every Wednesday night on YouTube. And I'm joined by other after dinner speakers or speakers that have a true story. And the rules of The After Dinner Show are you have to tell a true story, has to be told from personal experience, and you have to have had your dinner. So those are the 3 rules, because it's the After Dinner Show.
Yeah.
And that's an example of a triple. In comedy, we call that a triple, when you do 2 normal things and the third one's weird. Okay. And the reason I mention that is because I teach other speakers how to be funny, how to add humor to presentations. So one thing I've been doing a lot during lockdown is a program called Tickle My Keynote. Yeah. And this is where it's a bit weird. Other speakers will come online and on a Zoom call, like the one we're doing, they will deliver their keynote to me. And then I'll go, right, what you could say here is, and I'll basically gag it up, put some gags in. Brilliant. And make sure they don't lose their authority. And then the other thing, the big thing I'm doing is my group program, Talking Funny for Speakers, which is 10 speakers all at once in a 6-week program. And I give them 2 videos a week and an exercise to do each week. And the idea is to find humor in a business presentation, but without losing your credibility. So it's about serious laughs in serious talks. And that's going really well.
So, you obviously bring humour to your presentations. That's your thing in your style. I noticed on the website that you'd appeared at a show. I think it was the Good Funeral Show or something. Is that right?
Yeah, it's called the Good Funeral Awards, and it's part of a 3-day event called the Ideal Death Show.
And tell me about the humour you brought to that. Yeah,
so it's undertakers and crematorium assistants and funeral celebrants all come together, a very happy crowd for a 3-day event. And the year I did it, it was at Bourneville in Birmingham. And on the Saturday night, they had the gala dinner to see who'd won Gravedigger of the Year, Crematorium Assistant of the Year, Best Alternative Hearse, I remember, was won by Motorbike and Sidecar Company. Right. And it was just that it's like the Oscars for burying people, and it was fantastic. The only thing was that year, the trophy that they won was Anubis. Now, Anubis is one of those. It's the Egyptian god of the afterlife, and it's one of those little creatures with the head of a dog, but a human body that you get buried with if you're a pharaoh. And so I would announce the nominations, then the guest, the sponsor of each award would say who'd won it, and then I would hand out the statue of Anubis. But the person handing me the statues wasn't checking what they were. So everyone was getting the wrong statue. So Gravedigger of the Year got Crematorium Assistant of the Year. Crematorium Assistant of the Year got Lifetime Achievement in the Funeral Industry. Well, that just made me laugh that there's a lifetime achievement in the funeral industry. And then we had to have a big swap shop at the end.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but it was a lovely event, lovely people. But after about 5 minutes, I don't think they're ever going to smile at any of my lines. And then I remembered they were all undertakers, so they were used to having to suppress any mirth.
Yes.
Now, either that or I was rubbish. I don't know which. Either of those.
Just looping back to the tickle my keynote and your kind of online stuff. I can imagine that this is not just for professional speakers, of course. This could be for someone who was doing a best man speech this summer. I mean, maybe not this summer actually, but you know, this could be for non-business presentations, or just people who aren't actually used to standing up in front of a crowd and trying to deliver something serious, but with some humor, maybe.
Yeah. So I've had loads of people come to me. I've had vicars, quite a lot of dentists, curiously. Want to add more engagement when they're doing the bit, when you're lying there, well, stuffing your mouth and all like that, and they're going, now you can have a crown, but of course what we recommend is an implant, and it'll be a lot more expensive. Teaching them how to do that sort of stuff. But yeah, I've done a lot of best men and fathers of the bride and brides and all sorts of people that just want. I think it's not acceptable anymore, and particularly with loads of people presenting now on Zoom and GoToWebinar and stuff.
Yeah,
it's not acceptable anymore to be boring, because the young people, the millennials, I believe they call themselves, they don't. They want stuff to be exciting, and they want it to be short and bite-sized and get on with it. And so if you drone on, they'll switch off. Or there's a feature when I do webinars, there's a feature that you can see that tells you if the people on the webinar, how many of them have opened another browser window. In other words, they're not really watching anymore. They might be shopping online or just watching some funny YouTube videos of kittens, and you can see that. And then you can send them a message saying, "Can you please reopen the main browser window?" That's a powerful tool, let me tell you, because they are so shocked that you've caught them out. They'll just say, "Dave from Winchester has opened another browser window."
It's a shame that you can't actually tell what Dave is actually watching.
Yeah, no, you can't see what he's doing, but with a name like Dave from Winchester, I don't think it's going to be good.
In fact, you might want to know.
No, it's probably best that we can't.
So, I mean, how far ahead are you booked? I mean, do you is everything cancelled this year, or what's the deal?
Yeah, so a lot of events that should have been in April and May have now moved to September and October.
Okay.
I don't know that they'll go ahead or not.
No.
I'd like to think they would, but I think at the moment everyone's saying yes, they've been moved to the autumn, just because we can't bear the prospect that they might not happen. But really, is someone going to risk putting on an event there if there's any danger at all of people getting the virus? So I've kind of written this year off, really.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be that. I mean, a lot of my stuff is after dinners, and so for me, the high season when I need everything to be up and running is October, November, December.
Right.
And it all up to about December the 10th. I could do a gig any night, really. And if it's a Thursday in October and someone wants to book me for a low fee, I always say no, because I know Thursdays in October I can book 3 times over.
Gosh.
But January and February was always very quiet.
Yeah.
The after dinner speaker, because no one's having any dinner. Everyone's on a diet. They're all down the gym, and they've not got any money because they've overdone Christmas. So it's very, very seasonal. So I need October, November, December to be good, really.
Mm. Now, I know your dad's still around, isn't he? And
Is
you
he? Can you see him? He's in.
but
He's in.
I think you're connecting with him every so often to do to catch up with him, aren't you?
Yes. So mum and dad are in rural Suffolk, so they're in lockdown. I've got sisters in Notting Hill, Kent, and Essex, and every Sunday we have a group Zoom call with all five of us on the screen, and
Right.
then once in the week I'll have a call with mum and dad, and we'll do the Guardian crossword. Mainly just because dad's a big Telegraph reader, and I just know it upsets him so much to have to do the Guardian crossword. But that's what I read, so we do that. And I know he'll have done the Telegraph one in his own time. So
Right. Right.
yeah, so it's brilliant. You can do it online, share screens, read the clues, fill them in. It's brilliant. And my mum's been coming up with a lot of answers lately, and then it turns out she's found this website that tells you the answers by some bloke called Dan. Dad and I were shocked because mum was a teacher, and she's almost like she's helping people cheat in exams.
So is Dan just doing them quicker than everybody else? Is that his solution, or has he got an inside track?
Well, so if you do the Telegraph crossword, if you just Google Big Dave, there's a guy called Big Dave, and every day he'll explain why the answer is what the answer is. So it's quite good if you are struggling, or if you get it but you're not quite sure why it's right.
Right.
And then Dan does a similar thing, I believe, for the Guardian. And then I go to a website called 15 Squared, which will explain the Financial Times crossword answers and the Independent crossword answers and the Guardian.
Brilliant.
So, for people listening to this that I think cryptic crosswords are brilliant. They keep your brain going long into retirement because they help you think very creatively. It keeps your brain active. But if you just do a crossword in a paper, then you think, well, I know those, and then there's about half of them I just don't know, and there's no way I'll get them. This will explain to you how they work.
Brilliant. Great.
So my favorite ever crossword clue, Pretty Girl in Crimson Rose, is good. It sounds like a story. Pretty Girl in Crimson Rose. The answer's rebelled, because crimson is red, rebel is rose. Pretty Girl in Crimson Rose, rebelled. Belle is the pretty girl inside red.
Fantastic. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And I love the way that you can I love the way that you can do it with your dad and your mum's cheating. And I love the answer that I didn't realise you could go and get the solutions from Big Dave and all these other guys. So that's
Big Dave, Dan, mainly people beginning with D, I think have the answer.
Those are definitely top tips. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been absolutely fascinating. Where can people find out more about you and the services that you provide if they need their keynote or their speech tickled, or they want to learn some of the skills that you have of adding humour to talks?
Yes, so people would be welcomed to come on my Talking Funny for Speakers group program. That's just 10 places on that, and I'd be always welcoming people on that, and I'll do it in 6-week runs, and so the next one will start up soon. So jeremynicholas.co.uk. Nicholas has an H in. People always forget the H, so it's jeremynicholas.co.uk. I always say to people it's Nicholas like the saint. And I said that to someone the other day, and they said, oh, which saint? Nicholas, Saint Nicholas. So it's jeremynicholas.co.uk. Don't go to .com, because that's an actor who's called Jeremy Nicholas. And the online coaching will give you all the details about my training programs, and then book me as a speaker if you want to, if we're ever allowed out of lockdown.
I think even the skills of being able to do it over Zoom is probably going to be, these are definitely skills that people need to learn as well, aren't they?
Yeah, and I don't know when this will go out and if we'll still be locked down by then, but I've been doing 3 a week of free 30-minute sessions on how to use Zoom, just for people that haven't got a clue, because particularly freelancers are struggling at the moment. They haven't got any money because all their work's gone, and although I'm in the same boat, I think it's good to do stuff for free. So on that jeremynicholas.co.uk page, on the online coaching, there's always the dates for the latest free Zoom training things. And I have up to 100 people at a time just doing a 30-minute session. So,
well, I know, Jem, I know quite a few other financial planners listen to this show. I think they put it down as continual professional development. So, but I'm sure many of them would love to get some free training. Financial advisors, always like something for free, and they definitely would love the skills that you can teach on video conferencing. So I thank you for that. And once again, thanks for spending some time with me this afternoon.
You're very welcome. See ya.
So until next time, this is Justin King helping you feel more informed in your retirement.